Brooklyn Independent Television.
Coming up,
Do you want a male or female voice, Gecko?
Shanti, a Bengali-American MC, composer, and producer, wants his music to bring continents closer together.
And I work a lot with exposing India to sounds from the West and then bringing sounds back from India.
A treehouse grows in the Brooklyn Botanic Garden.
Like, nothing's going to waste.
Roderick Romero salvages art from destruction. Emily Danger came out of opera and cabaret to create a sound that's not afraid to hit a nerve.
A lot of skeletons came out of the closet in that song, and it was really awkward singing that song in front of my family.
Illustrator Jing Wei talks frankly about how, before you know it, making art can morph into a career.
At this point, I feel like the young Brooklyn artist experience doesn't really exist anymore.
Singer-songwriter Lola Danza moves from pop to traditional Korean to experimental electronica. And in Williamsburg, the graffiti legend Atomic takes on the challenge of a 100-foot wall.
What I'm trying to do is figure out what am I going to do.
They're all caught in the act. Art in Brooklyn.
She's at the G3, sprinkles of Monet, cotton candy on a rainy day. She's New Delhi next with this New York boy that's gotten addicted.
My name is Nabeen. I go by Brooklyn Shanti. I'm a Bengali-American artist, and I'm an absolute mess. No. I'm a producer. I'm an MC. I've been an MC since I was 12 years old. I've lived in London. I've lived in Bombay. I've lived in Calcutta. It always brings me back to Brooklyn because New York is a clearing ground for global culture, and that's why we put together our little workshop here in Bed-Stuy. Today we're working on a mixtape project that Gecko is submitting for Society Perrier.
Is anybody
That's good,
French?
man, finally.
You guys know
Do you
anything
guys-
about that? If I could get a Dr. Roboto intro
Yeah,
from
yeah,
her,
yeah.
I'd be just as happy.
All right, so US English. Do you want a male or female voice, Gecko? Here's what I got, Gex.
Société Perrier. Société Perrier.
You know, there's no booty on the floor. You know, it's let's really engage and figure out, get to the core of who this person is. We've started collaborating on music that fuses the worlds of, you know, Latin music and culture and South Asian music and culture.
Société Perrier.
So yeah, just bounce that out, and we'll drop that in sporadically. I think maybe throughout the mix.
My most recent release is called Mone Alo, and it's a Bengali and Spanish duet.
Alo, alo, I'm a morning, alo, alo.
And Mone Alo in Bangla translates to the light of my heart's blossom.
আমার সঙ্গে থেকেছি দেখো দেখো কিভাবে সব কিছু করে করে ব্রুকলিনে ও আসবে না আমার বুক খেপে গেছে.
It's very difficult to translate Bangla into English because Bangla is a very poetic language.
আমার মনের আলো আলো.
Somehow Mone Alo became one of iTunes' top picks when it was released. As a Bengali who grew up in America, who came of age in Brooklyn, I was always on the search for Bengali music that kind of encapsulated my experience. And I work a lot with exposing India to sounds from the West and then bringing sounds back from India. I put out a release called Rani Rani.
আমি জানি একদিন তুমি বুঝবে তারপরে তুমি শুনবে রানী রানী আমি কোনোদিন কিছু বলিনি লজ্জার থেকে.
It's taking traditional sentiments of what it means to be Bengali and putting that context into another wrapper or delivery mechanism. And I feel like in Brooklyn, that's what we do. I love writing a good love song. As I've progressed as an MC, as a producer, I'm more on a level of vibration where I'm just putting out love.
She's A-OK whenever I'm near. Hold the blues in the middle of the nightmares.
It's just creating this context to have a bigger conversation with people.
True love, she inspired me to be a better person. She's the poetry written in my verses. She's infinite, all love's eternal.
I live in the East Village on Avenue C. When Sandy came in, it filled up all of Avenue C. And I live on the 5th floor. I watched cars floating by. You just have to constantly work it, like until it gets friction, and then it's in, okay?
All right.
You want to try this?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. And then I thought, like, well, how are all the gardens doing? You know, they're getting destroyed. I thought, well, why can't we repurpose, like, the wood, you know, out of the gardens and build, like, a treehouse? Why not? We'll secure that. There you go, that's good. Okay, so, like, that would be a reversal. Throw it the other way. Yeah. Okay.
After Hurricanes Sandy and Irene, we were left with a lot of felled trees, and that meant a lot of wood that we weren't sure what to do with. So we started looking for projects to repurpose this wood in a way that would be constructive and productive and hopefully artistic and hopefully make our visitors happy as well.
There you go. Okay, now drop it, and then hang on, and then push it this way.
We decided this would be the perfect way to take these natural disasters and turn them into something really beautiful and positive and constructive for all of our visitors every year.
This sculpture is supposed to look like a hurricane. The way I'm spiraling out, the way the stairways come this way, and then this one goes this way. That's, if you look at an eye of a hurricane from above, this is what it looks like. This is like my 54th treehouse project around the world, and I always feel like nature is really the architect. Like, I'm just trying to fit in with nature, but on this one, it like everything changed. Like, I got really inspired by like Jackson Pollock, Marcel Duchamp, and Picasso, and so I just started throwing it all in to, you know, because it's all from the hurricane. So I'm like, why not use every single element, all of it? So like, nothing's going to waste, nothing's getting chipped.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's how it got broken, it's how I got shattered. The storm, you know, as it came through, it was almost more like, it was like, I mean, this is my really first major public piece, you know. I work for always private clients. So drop, no, down in here. Yeah, further, this one, no, there you go. Like that, exactly. And they're always like, really like secluded sites. But here, it's like, I've been on display, you know, so it's really public. But what I love about it is that so many more people will get to experience this. And that's amazing for me. I mean, thousands and thousands of children and adults will come here and just engage in this kind of like, it's a museum of wood, you know. It's Sandy remix, but it's like, it's a museum of wood.
You want to get in the tree?
Oh, the sun has to be out.
Yeah, go ahead.
I ran everything like really light. You know, I ran all the dark wood to the outside and then all the light to the inside. So it's capturing sun, and it's just gonna get, you know, you'll sit up here and it's gonna be like 90 degrees and you'll be like, are you kidding me? Which we've been like suffering through the snow and the rain, but I think this summer is going to be fantastic here.
Emily Nicholas, the lead singer and head writer of Emily Danger. And we got together about 2 years ago, Ryan Nierhoff and I, and we did a cabaret at the Duplex. And it went really well. We did like a bunch of covers, but we also rearranged the covers in kind of a not very often done way. I guess we did a lot of Radiohead, Tom Waits, Jeff Buckley, Rufus Wainwright. A lot of male songs for me, Bjork. And then we started writing, and so we threw some of our originals in, and we got great feedback after. People really liked the stuff we wrote, so we kind of had a drink afterward, and we're like, you know, we're kind of tired of what we've been doing. He was in musical theater, I was in opera, and I think we just tired of singing other people's songs. So we started writing our own. Ryan arranges my music in a way that I can't. So he is very integral to me. We have to have each other, I think. So I come with the lyrics, he arranges it, Cameron Orr comes in and totally blows my mind with what he writes for the violin. And then we recently have Coyote Anderson on the bass, who writes his own parts. So it's a collaborative for sure, but it started with a little cabaret downtown.
Rearrange some chromosomes. Build my personal strength. Assign a number each day. Turn the key and the knife in your back, and I'm home.
So Shed My Skin, I wrote in 5 minutes on the subway. The lyrics just came out of me, and they came after a phone call from my family. And essentially, my family is amazing and they're really supportive, but I have always felt, I'm an only child and I'm an only grandchild, and I've always felt this like weight of pressure. Like, I have to be the best and I have to succeed, and you know, everybody feels this way. The title, Shed My Skin, came out of this thought of like, what would it be like to have totally different genes, Genes, and just be from a totally different situation, and these are things that would not happen if that were what was going on. So I use a lot of metaphor in my writing, and there's a ton of metaphor in that song. So it just kind of all came out, and once I wrote it, I felt at peace with that, and I felt like a lot of my demons were calmed by that, and a lot of skeletons came out of the closet in that song, and it was really awkward singing that song in front of my family because they got it a little more than I wanted them to. We have a couple big things coming up. We have the Way Station in May, and we're doing our single release party at Rockwood in June 16th. And everybody that comes, it's a free show, but everybody that comes will get a copy of our new single, which will be dropping soon, as soon as possible.
But then our baggage wouldn't match.
It wasn't really consistent for the first 2 or 3 years. I would say I was struggling a little bit, and also, you know, having a crisis as to whether or not I wanted to continue doing illustration. It's kind of hard to know what the possibilities are for a career in illustration. I mean, I certainly didn't. So I was basically just taking it one step at a time and trying to go for the kind of work that was the most accessible, which happened to be editorial for me. Some of my regular editorial clients include the New York Times and Bloomberg and the New Yorker, so they're all local. At this point, I feel like the young Brooklyn artist experience doesn't really exist anymore unless you're independently wealthy. When I first got here, that's what I wanted to have and that's what I expected to have, but it's kind of unrealistic and it's a bit of a myth, I think. A lot of being here is worrying about finances and being stressed out, and if you're actually trying to make money off of your work, you have to consider the practical side of things. I definitely don't feel like I'm living this like bohemian life. I mean, maybe it's a line of work that I do, but it's definitely work. I wonder if I lived somewhere else, if I would be making an entirely different body of work. And I think probably the answer is yes. I think you're definitely influenced by your environment. Living in Brooklyn sort of cultivates a certain lifestyle, and that is definitely an energy that I bring to my work. I mean, it's gonna sound negative, but it makes me bored with my work a lot, but it just constantly makes me think about working with new subject matter and trying to find new and interesting things to incorporate into my work. If I could make a collage or a print or something digitally or even drawn by hand, I'm equally happy doing all those things. I guess I'm leaning a little more toward collage because it's still kind of new, so I'm very excited to explore it. Hopefully whatever I make, it looks like it's part of the same world and it's coming from me regardless of how I make it. I feel optimistic, which was not always how I felt at all. But I think that the kind of opportunities that I've been getting in the last year or so have definitely made me feel more secure about my career and the future of my career. A lot of these will be part of the landscape, but I'm just not quite sure how to arrange it yet. It's definitely important to not take anything for granted because, especially with freelance, you know, work could totally dry up or it's pretty unpredictable. The biggest fear for me is just to have my work become stagnant and not improve and not grow, especially at such a young age. You know, I feel like you should constantly be striving to evaluate your work in different ways and see how you can improve it and how you can get to the next level. There's definitely a lot more that I want to achieve. I haven't reached the success that I want to reach. I definitely do have fun and I love what I do, so I definitely consider myself very lucky to be in that position.
Standing still for behind, can't let go and don't go.
My name is Lola Danza. I'm a singer and composer, and I started playing music since I was a child. I come from a family full of musicians. I think my first song I wrote, I was 8 years old. And my father helped me write it down on paper. I was singing and playing at the piano, and it's something that I've continued to do. Lots of things inspire me to write. Walking around, seeing people, how they interact with each other. I like to go to Prospect Park. In the morning I like to listen to music, hear the birds chirping, you know, just see people walking around, because I think life is art, and that's where a lot of my inspiration for writing comes from.
The footsteps of my mother. Stomp, 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 stomp.
I have 3 different projects right now that I'm working on. A Korean music project with traditional Korean instruments and jazz vocals. It's really a fusion. It talks about, like for instance, it was a tribute to my mother. It was really about like how you come to the United States and how it is to be an immigrant and how it is to mix the East and West together. And so we did this with music, and it was very special to me. And then I have another project that's experimental electronic music. And I was working with music engineer James Della Tacoma, and we were in the studio and we were taking samples of different sounds. We manipulated it a little bit and then we made it into a piece of music with different sounds, collaging them together. We added later a little bit of guitar, a little bit of bass. And then a whole string section where Jing Wei, he wrote the string parts. He actually came into the studio when we recorded the CD and played each part himself, from violin, viola to cello. And because of the magic of the studio, we were able to layer him on top of himself, and so we created this whole orchestra of sound. Right now, I'm working on a new project. It's pop-based. I've been writing these songs about love and about life. It's been really nice to be at the piano singing. It's very honest and it's very comforting, and I enjoy just accompanying myself. It's been very pure feeling to me. For me, music is really this great love affair of mine. I always think that if you only had a few days to live on this earth, what would you be doing? I think that everyone should do what they would do if they only had a week to live. That's why, you know, every day I do music.
That's art. That's junk. That's a mess.
Why is that a mess?
That's vandalism. That's destroying private property. I fix private property. One day, my brother went out to paint and I followed him and I seen him painting. And he seen me, he's like, yo, get the hell out of here, go home. I said, all right, go home. I just started grabbing the markers and I started painting the hallways. I started doing that all over the place. I graduated. That's when you start at. You start over there and then you graduate over here. Look at this. This is what turns me on. This big ATOL. It's beautiful. How about some hot pink?
Orange.
Orange? Hot pink. Hot pink. Hot pink. Yo. I give it to you, bro. Yo, listen. Yo, you a bad cookie, bro.
Atomic to us in the graffiti world. He's an old timer. He's been on the train since the 70s. If you're in the graffiti world, if you're a fan of graffiti, if you're a fan of the visual art world, you know Atomic, you know Adam's name. You know about his subway cars, the windows down, the whole subway cars top to bottom, his style. See, the thing about the subway cars is that you wanted people to be able to read your work. So he did these big, large, fat letters with nice splashes of colors that's, you know, big and bright. That way, if the train was zooming by 40 miles an hour, you still knew who it was. We've moved the Fun Factory program over here to Williamsburg and Brooklyn, and what we do now is we take pockets of industrial areas, like what you see behind us, and we convert them into outdoor mural art galleries. Graffiti right now is a crime, it's a Class C felony. You go to jail for a very long time.
I brighten up the community, that's what I say. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people like make messes, which I understand when they say, listen, a lot of people don't respect graffiti. But graffiti is the form of art, you know?
We would like to transform a neighborhood. It's really underused property. I mean, all these properties here, they're commercial properties and they're thriving businesses. But there's nothing going on outside, and it's really underused property. So we take the space like this and we do murals on them.
Looks nice like that. You don't like him? I think he looks nice. Yo, look, he's popping out like this, look. Ah, what's up, boo? I don't know, what I'm trying to do is figure out what am I gonna do. See, because like I said, I've been here for the last 4 days on this wall here.
A lot of times, a very big problem that these industrial properties have is illegal graffiti. You have kids, catching tags, doing throw-ups. It's all part of the graffiti world, but at the end of the day, it's a headache for the property owners because they need to paint it over and they have to stay on top of it, and it's a lot of work for them. In the graffiti world, it's a respect thing. We put up a mural like this and nobody touches it.
A sketch, we did it like 2 days ago, me and Jay. We did it in my house and then we just put it on the wall. This right here is just coming out freehand. We didn't even have this planned out. Only thing is the wall is big and we just started adding. What we're doing is we're just adding abstracts to take up space. Eventually it'll look like something. We step back, we look at it. If it looks good, we leave it. If it don't look good, we take it off. We do something off. That's what I like doing. What is it? It relaxes my nerves. Some people like smoking cigarettes. I like spray painting. It calms my nerves. It's enormous. 2 guys, 100 feet wall, 12 feet high, 3 days. Sometimes it takes 10 guys to do this work and they still don't get it done. This is for Duro, Dondi, Kiss, Rasta, Shasta. Who else we got? Anybody that was down with them. This is dedicated for me to the CIA crew. Brooklyn in the house.
Watch this and other Brooklyn Independent Television episodes online at bricartsmedia.org/BIT.